आय नमो नमः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च
कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय नंदनाय
नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः।
नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. You are fortunate, a Bhakti Shashtri student from Bangalore and other places with doing Bhakti Shashtri with MI. You are all welcome. We are discussing Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. The content of the Gita summarized, and technically it is called, the first 30 verses are called Sankhya Yuga. Usually from 11 to 30, verse
Recording
number 30.
in progress.
So here we have what we have done. This is Dharma Samudha Cheta. So these are the 5 reasons which is the meaning of Dharma Samudha Cheta. So Dharma means religious principle or the prescribed duties, and Samudha means I am confused. Cheta means my consciousness. My consciousness is completely confused about my prescribed duty as a Kshatriya, as a Varna Ashram Dharma. And what are the reasons for confusion? Compassion, enjoyment, sinful reaction, destruction of dynasty, and indecision. So these are all actually coming under the heading of Dharma Samudha Cheta, Arjun's reason not for fighting. Now Krishna defeat Arjun's argument of compassion by Jnana, which is actually Atma Jnana or Sankhya Yoga. And this is from verse 11 to 30. And the basic verses are like Na jayate milyate va kadachan. Soul is never born and never going to die. And then the other verse is like Dhurvam Janma Mritasya cha. One who has taken birth, death is definite. And one who dies, he is going to get the another body. That may be material or spiritual. So that is certain. From both viewpoints, there is no cause of lamentation, because living entity as he is cannot be killed, nor can the material body be saved for any length of time or permanently protected. This is a purport by Srila Prabhupada in verse number 18. Now the second section which we will start today, generally they call it Karma Kanda. I prefer to call it a prescribed duty, Varna Ashram duty, and that is called Swadharma. So there are 2 types of Swadharma. One Swadharma is of the body, which is different from the different people and different Varna, and one Swadharma is for the soul, and that is common for all. So here Krishna is speaking about swadharma or prescribed duty for specific Varna ashram. So from verse 31 to 37, Krishna defeats Arjun's and next argument of enjoyment by Swadharma or Karma Kanda. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. So both way you will enjoy. How you are saying you will not enjoy? The people will always speak of your infamy. And for a respectful person, dishonor is worse than death. What could be more painful for you? So for not fighting, if you don't fight, then you will not enjoy. You will suffer. Swargadwaram apavartam. Now this is the third argument of the Arjun which Krishna is defeating. There is sinful reaction. And there is also the verse 32. O Partha, happy are Kshatriya to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them door of heavenly planets. Swargadwaram apavartam. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty, which means Varna ashram duty of a Kshatriya, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duty. Verse 33. So, you said, I will fight, I will incur sin. But Krishna is saying, if you don't fight, then because of neglecting your prescribed duty, you will actually incur sin. Again, if he abandoned the battle, as the Prabhupada is speaking, if Arjun abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. This is the purport of verse number 33. Spirit of Kshatriya, Prabhupada speak. This is some king, Prabhupada knows. Yashomanta Sena, either he conquer the battle or he lay down his body there dead. So the man who has come, he must be somebody pretender. So she refused to open the door. This is the spirit of Kshatriya. It means a Kshatriya, if he is running from the battlefield, neither his wife nor his mother nor his sister will open the door, because they think he is not Kshatriya at all. Either you win the battle or you die on the battlefield. You will not come back from the battlefield with either of the two goals. This is what Prabhupada spoke. Now Krishna defeated Arjuna argument 11 to 30 by Atmagyan, and enjoyment and sinful reaction from 31 to 37. Both way you have to fight. This is a Prabhupada gave a lecture. Both way you have to fight. Krishna is trying to put Arjuna in a dilemma. This way or that way, you must have to fight. If you think that you are not in bodily concept of life, then it is my order. So if you are a pure devotee beyond bodily concept, then it is my order, you must fight. Then you have to fight. If you think that you are in bodily conceptual life, then you are a Kshatriya. You must fight. Both ways you have to fight. This is Krishna's conclusion. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avivasyatah vedavatarataha paratha. These verses we will read. So men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Traigunya Vishya Veda Nistruguno Bhavarjuna. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjun, become transcendent to three modes. Krishna advised Arjun to transcend three modes, but Arjun did not really take notice till chapter 14. Then he will ask Krishna, how can I transcend three modes of material nature? And the Krishna give answer only by unalloyed devotional service. So this is something you should do among yourself, a exercise. Read the Bhagavad Gita verse 40, say second chapter 44 and 46. 45 and 46 verses and purport. Discuss relevance of Karma Kand division of the Vedas in the practice of Krishna consciousness. How are the practices of ISKCON authorized from Vedic point of view? So these are the two points you have to extract from the purport of verse 44 and 46. The best purpose of the Vedanta philosophy is served by inoffensively chanting holy name of the Lord. The highest Vedantist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting holy name of Lord. So these are the main points in this purport 46 that you have to pick from the purport. So Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, we have to start somewhere today here. So let us start our regular way of studying verses one by one. So up till which verse we have finished? Yes.
Up to 28. Up to 28.
Okay, 29 we have to do today, all right. Avyaktani bhutani, this is what we have discussed, right? So verse number 21 is interesting verse. Yeah, 29. So here is 29. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschdenam Ascharyavat vadati tathe vachanya Ascharyavatchaena manya shrunoti Shrutvapienam vedana chaiva kaschit. So some realize, kaschit pashyati. Pashyati means realize. The soul with amazement. Others speak of it in amazement. Vadati. Others hear about it with amazement. Shrunoti. Hearing about, speaking about, or seeing it. Still, no one knows it at all. Vedanacha eva kaschit. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, what an astonishing thing you are describing, Krishna. And it is so astonishing that though I am being enlightened by you, my lack of discernment does not go away. Yes, Krishna says, Atma is truly astonishing. With this intention, Lord then speak this verse. The word enam in this verse stands for the soul and the body, and the combination of both, which constitute the whole world. So actually whole world is constituted by two energies of the Supreme Lord, para and apara, superior and inferior. Inferior is the material energy and superior is the marginal energy, the soul. So this whole world is combination of the two. The meaning would be, yes, people see this combination of soul and body, which consider all living beings as amazing. The Sanskrit for this rather cryptic statement is enam atmanam deham cha tad ubhaya rupam sarva lokam. The meaning is as taken by Bhakti Vinod in his translation of the verse is, the soul is amazing since people understand this soul in completely different ways. The Jiva Tattva is seen as material entity or body, devoid of conscious substance, Deham, as a conscious entity which is not eternal, Tad Ubhaya Rupam, and as one soul, only as in Advait philosophy, Sarvalokam. So there's another meaning for this verse, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says. So those who are monists, they say there's no difference between body and soul. No. This Advait says that the soul and the Brahma are one. And the materialistic say the soul and body, like Sunyavadi, they say they are one. In Vishwanath's commentary, he takes the meaning of Ascharya as astonishing, in the sense of hard to understand, modifying enam the Atma. Thus they misunderstand it as a material object, as a temporary spiritual element, or as one all-pervading soul. So these are the three concepts people have because the soul is amazing and they don't understand it. Balle Vidyabhushan says, though I have been taught many things by you, who are omniscient, I do not understand the nature of the Atma, which will drive away lamentation. Why is this? Though the Jiva's very nature is said to be both knowledge and bliss, which means Satchitanand. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, the Lord is knowledge and bliss. There is no incompatibility to that difference in the Swarup, because the soul is part and parcel of the Lord, so he has the same qualities. For the Advaitim, which means monist Shankaracharya, this is the problem, for Brahm is knowledge itself without any qualities. Nirvisesh. That means Nirvisesh. Since the word Anand used with Brahma, it would seem to give quality to the Brahm. They say it is Nirvisesh, but the word Anand is there, which means there is a quality. The Advaitism then has to give a roundabout explanation using grammar to avoid quality in Brahm. For the Vaishnava, however, there is not difficulty in accepting two aspects of the Brahm. Brahm as a Nirvisesh and also as person. So, the impersonal aspect also we accept, that is the effulgent light coming from the transcendental body of Sri Krishna. Though the Jiva is knowledge itself, it also takes the role of a knower. Knowledge and knower. Being a knower is difficult for the Advaitam to accept, since knowing means change, and Brahma without change. Though the Jeev is very small, it is spread throughout a large body. Though having had a relation with many bodies, it is unattached by those transformations. Being filled with many such contradictory qualities, the Jeev taught by me is astonishing. That person who has attained the mercy of Guru and a pure heart and has a pure heart realize Pashyati, the true nature of astonishing Jeev with contrary qualities. Through performance of prescribed duties, observing truthfulness, austerity, chanting japa and such things, the word Ascharavad can modify the subject or object. It means soul or the one who think about the soul. The person sees the Jeev as an astonishing object, or the person sees the Jeev and is astonished. Similarly, someone speaks of Jeev as astonishing, or speaks about the Jeev with astonishment, and hears about the Jeev as astonishing thing, or hears about the Jeev with astonishment. So subject and object both are surprised. Even having heard about the Atma, a person who is not pure in heart, Kaschit, does not understand about it. Thus the true nature of Jeev is difficult to understand. Baldev Vidyabhushan quote Kathopanishad. That Atma is not the subject of hearing for many. If many persons hear about Atma, they still do not know it. One who speaks about the Atma is rare, and a skillful speaker is rare. One who attains the Atma is rare. One who knows from a skillful teacher is rare. Kathopanishad. Srila Prabhupada's purport, open your books. So men look at the soul proper as wonderful, either by constitution or by description. Wonderful either by constitution, 1/10,000th part of tip of the hair, but pervade the whole body like the medicine spread as a consciousness. And as when somebody describes the soul, and then what is the actually wonderful, Prabhupada writes, illusioned by the material energy, people are so engrossed in subject matter for sense gratification that they have very little time to understand the question of self-understanding. Even though it is a fact that without this self-understanding, all activities result in ultimate defeat in the struggle for existence. Perhaps they have no idea that one must think of the soul and thus make a solution to the material miseries. Some people who are inclined to hear about the soul may be attending lectures in good association, but sometimes, owing to ignorance, they are misguided by acceptance of super soul and the atomic soul as one without distinction of magnitude, which means quantity. It is very difficult to find a man who perfectly understands the position of super soul, the atomic soul, their respective functions and relationship, and all other major and minor details. And it is still more difficult to find a man who has actually derived full benefit from knowledge of the soul, and who is able to describe the position of the soul in different aspects, like conditioned soul, liberated soul. But if somehow or other one is able to understand the subject matter of the soul, then one's life is successful. The easiest process for understanding the subject matter of the self, however, is to accept the statement of Bhagavad Gita spoken by the greatest authority, Lord Krishna, without being deviated by other theories. But it also requires a great deal of penance and sacrifice, either in this life or in the previous one, before one is able to accept Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna can, however, be known as such by causeless mercy of pure devotee, which means a spiritual master, and by no other way. Actually, there is one more paragraph in the beginning of the purport of Srila Prabhupada, that it is amazing because the one minute soul is in the elephant, in the demigod, in the dog, in the ant. That is actually astonishing. Is that paragraph theirs? Hare Krishna. Haribol, that paragraph is there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, that is in the beginning.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah.
That is actually astonishing. So we are going to the next verse. So Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada started, since Gita Upanishad is largely based on principle of Upanishad, so it is not surprising to also find the passage in the Katha Upanishad. That's what we discussed with Baldev Vidyabhushan. Same, almost same. Acharyo Asya Gajanati, same thing. The fact that the atomic soul is within the body of a gigantic animal, in the body of a gigantic banyan tree. So that's what the first is the verse from Katha Upanishad that we have discussed in Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary. And the rest all we have discussed. So we are going to the last verse of this section. That is actually conclusion. Dehi nityam avadyoyam. Dehi means soul, nityam means always, avidyo means never destroyed. Ayam means soul. Dehe sarvasya bharata, which is always in the body of all people. Tasmar sarvani bhutani natvam sochitumarasi. Therefore, don't lament for anybody. So, O Bharata, the soul in the body of all entities can never be killed. Therefore, he should not lament for any being. Baldev Vidyabhushan writes, having secondly taught the nature of the Atma, which is difficult to understand, the Lord concludes the topic by saying that Arjuna should not grieve for Atma. Since this Jeev, Dehi, situated in the destructible bodies of all living entities, Dehi, is eternal and cannot be killed at any time, you should not lament for all living entities that have attained bodies including Bhisham, Sarvabhutani. You should not lament for the Atma because they are eternal, and you should not lament for the bodies because they will inevitably be destroyed by their very nature. Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord now conclude the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna established that the soul is immortal and body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna as a Kshatriya should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher Bhisham and Drona will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body. Not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptom of develops at a certain stage of material maturity, resulting from the interaction of chemicals. There is a material theory. Though the soul is immortal, the violence is not encouraged. So this line you note for your essay, violence when it is justified and when it is not justified. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. But at the time of war, it is not discouraged when there is an actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. Means by one's own whims and wills. It is sanctioned by the Lord or scripture or spiritual authority. So here the section is over. We are going to the next section. That is from verse number 31 to 38. And this section deals with Swadharma or Karma Kand, and Krishna refute Arjun's second reason, enjoyment. Swadharma api chaveksha, because the first word is Swadharma, so I call this Swadharma in my own understanding. Swadharma api chaveksha na vikampitum aharasi dharmayadhi yuddhashrayo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Even considering your own duties, Swadharam api cha aveksha, you should not be fearful. Na vikampitum aharasi. There is nothing better for a warrior than to fight for the right cause. Dharmadhi, right cause is dharma. Fight for dharma. And surrender unto me, Bhurijan Prabhu writes, in the next group of verses 31 to 38, Krishna continues his attempt to convince Arjun to fight. The motives he stresses here, however, are not based on knowledge but on fruitive activity and religious duty. So two things. Fruitive activity because it can lead to the heaven, and religious duty as a Kshatriya. In this way, Krishna attack another of Arjun's reason, that is, that he will not be able to enjoy himself after he engage in the battle. Therefore, in text 31 and 33, Krishna present Arjun with the argument that dutiful fighting, not fleeting the battlefield, will lead to enjoyment. So in these two verses, this argument is defeated. Chakravarti Pad writes, because the soul cannot be destroyed, you should not fear killing, stated in the previous verse. And considering from the point of view of your particular duty, since there is nothing better than fighting for dharma, you should not fear killing. That is the relation of the two verses. Baldev Vidya Bhushan. Okay. One who has faith in this scripture, means Bhagavad Gita, who is steady in following the path of dharma and has conquered the senses, is qualified for this scripture, Adhikari. I think I told you these few words. Now here you can again remember. Baldev Vidya Bhushan has categorized the three types of devotees, Adhikari, eligible. There are three types of qualified persons. The first, called Sanishta, perform his prescribed duty of Varna and Ashram as a form of worship of Hari, with desire to see Swargalok. The Sanishta devotee perform Nishkama Karma Yoga, to see Swarga, not to go and enjoy there, out of curiosity. Therefore, his desire to see Swarga would seem to be for curiosity, not to enjoy, as those performing Sakama Karma desires. So, Sanishta are those who perform their prescribed duties according to the Varna and Ashram, and they offer that to Supreme Lord. It means Nishkama Karma Yoga. The second type is called Parinishta. Follows his prescribed duty to set an example for others. He is not required to follow because he is a higher stage. But still he performs to set an example for others and at the same time engage in bhakti to the Lord. These two types also follow the rules of their particular ashram, means they follow varnashram duties. The third type, called Nirapeksha, whose heart has been purified by austerities, japa, truthfulness and other actions, is absorbed only in worshipping Hari, not following varnashram duties. He does not follow the duties of any ashram. Now Baldev says, Baldev Vidya Bhushan Shila, having taught to all people equally knowledge of the Atma, which is necessary in order to have knowledge of the Paramatma, the Lord will now speak to the Sanishta, qualified for devotion, mixed with prescribed duties, about action undertaken without personal desire, Nishkam Karma Yoga, which will establish Atma Gyan, means lead to the knowledge, while simultaneously purifying the heart. So actually Nishkam Karma Yoga purify the heart and lead us to the stage of Jnana. This starts in verse 40, this section, and ends with verse 51, Nishkam Karma Yoga. After which Atma Gyan is again discussed as Sthit Pragya. In order to produce respect for this steadiness in Atma Gyan, the Lord first speaks in 2 verses about material result produced from action performed with personal desires, Sakam Karma. Smriti says, the kings fighting each other in battle with the utmost energy with the intent to kill the opponent without turning away reach the Swarg, Manu Smriti. The animals which are killed by the Brahman in sacrifice being purified with mantra reach Swarg, Mahabharata. Thus, considering your own dharma, you should not deviate from that dharma, vikampitum. You have said that you see no benefit in this killing, as it will lead to living in hell continuously after death, because you will commit sin by the battle. But this is not so. That applies only to the fighting out of ignorance. To fight from the principle of dharma, dharmayat, is beneficial. Fighting indeed is the door to victory over the earth, or that you can institute Kshatriya dharma in the form of protecting the citizens and worshipping the Brahmanas and Gurus. Srila Prabhupada writes, there are two kinds of swadharma, or specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with the religious principle in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's swadharma specific duty becomes a spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily concept of life, there are specific duties for the Brahman and Kshatriya, respectively, and these duties are unavoidable. Such a swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in chapter 4, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. On the bodily plane, swadharma is called varnashram dharma. So this line you maintain as a very important line for one of your essay. On the bodily plane, swadharma is called varnashram dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. So this is the statement that you have to really build your essay. Human civilization begins from the stage of varnashram, or specific duties in terms of specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one's specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the order of the higher authority, which means scripture or spiritual master, serves to elevate one to higher status of life. Now we are going to the verse number 32. Krishna refute Arjun's second reason, enjoyment. Yadrichyacho papanam swargadvaram apavritam sukhi nakshatriya parat labhante yuddhami drasham. Happy are the warrior who obtains such a battle which comes just without effort and which opens the door to heaven. Moreover, Baldev Vidyabhushan says, Since without your effort this war brings great benefit, your fear is not justified. Cha is used here for emphasis only, yadricha cha, just without effort. Fortunate Sukhina, Kshatriya obtain such war with great warriors such as Bhisham, which comes to them without effort, because if they are victorious, they attain fame and kingdom by honest effort, and if they die, they very quickly attain Swarga. The Lord indicates this by saying that there is no obstacle to attain Swarga. Swarg dwaram apavartam. Whereas by performance of the Jyotishtoma sacrifice, one attains Swarga only after a long time. Thus the Lord indicates the superiority of fighting to sacrifice. Srila Prabhupada writes, as a supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemned attitude of Arjuna, who said, I do not find any good in this battle or in this fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell. Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. For a Kshatriya to be on battlefield and to become non-violent is philosophy of fools. These two lines are also important to insert somewhere where violence is justified and not justified. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom. And if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to heavenly planet, whose doors are wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. Verse 33. Now this 33 is Krishna refute Arjuna's third reason for sin. अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्मयं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि तत्स्वधर्म कीर्तिं च हत्वा पापं वापस्यसि. Hitva means giving up. If you give up this religious duty, then you will incur sin. If you do not take part in this righteous war, giving up your duty and fame, you will instead reap sin. Baldev Vidyabhushan writes, in this and the following verses, Lord shows the fault in not fighting. Giving up your duty of fighting, dharmayam sangramam. Sangram means fight. Dharam means right. Dutiful fighting for religious purpose. And also the glory attained by pleasing Shiva. You got the glory of pleasing Shiva and killing the Nimata Kavachas in the heavenly planet and others. You have so much fame already. You will reap only sin by neglecting of your duty, as such conduct is forbidden by the Smritis. Na nivarteta sangramada. This is this Manu Smriti. One should not turn away from battle. Arjuna went to Mount Kailash and pleased Shiva. Shiva bestowed on him his Pashupat weapon. Then Indra was attacked by the Nivat Kavacha. He called Arjuna and Arjuna killed them all. So this is the fame of Arjuna. Now Srila Prabhupada's purport somebody can read on this verse. Yes. Verse 33, Prabhupada's purport, then small purport. Only these Arjuna's glories are described in this purport, that he pleased the Lord Shiva and he also got the Pashupat weapon, and then the same purport is there, therefore there is no repetition here. He also pleased his father Indra. So as a Kshatriya, if he don't fight, then he will go to the hell. But if he abandon the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name and thus prepare the royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle. Is it okay? We are going to verse 34.
Okay, Prabhu.
अकीर्तं चापि भूतानि कथयन्ति ते अव्ययाम् संभावितस्य चाकीर्ति मरणादतिरिच्यते. They will speak. They means the Duryodhan, Karna, Dushasan, Sakuni, your enemies. They will speak incessantly. Bhutani avyayam katyachanti. Of your infamy. Te akirtim. Oh, he is very coward. For one who has great position, sambhavitasya. Dishonor, akirti, is worse than death. Maranad atirichyate. So if you ask me to turn your chariot, then all they will say, oh, here is a very coward Arjun now leaving the battle. They will not say that he is very magnanimous and merciful. They will say he is coward. And for you as a famous, these words are worse than death. In Surrender Unto Me, Gurujan Prabhu writes, we may question why a devotee like Arjun should be concerned about honor or dishonor. We should understand that in this section of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is not speaking to Arjun on the transcendent platform of devotional service. Rather, he is addressing Arjun's brave Kshatriya spirit. The pain of disgraced life will be more painful than death for a warrior like Arjun. Baldev Vidyabhushan says, not only do you destroy your duty, but you also completely destroy your fame. All the people will talk of your eternal infamy in fleeting at the commencement of the battle. And Arjun is saying now, but from fear of death, I could tolerate, but from fear of death, I could tolerate the infamy. No, death is preferable, Krishna says, to infamy for one who has attained such high position. So this is Krishna's opinion. Srila Prabhupada writes, both as a friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjun's refusal to fight. Lord says, Arjun, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battle, then my advice is that you would do better to die in the battle. For a respectful man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your body life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So Krishna is saying, Arjun, you are my friend, and in society you are highly respected. I say you fight. Verse 35. Bhayadrananupartam mamasyanti tvam maratha yesham ch tvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi lagvam. The great warriors by whom you were regarded highly and will now gain insignificance will think that you have abandoned the battle out of fear. Lagvam yasyasi means they think you are insignificant. Baldev Vidyabhushan raising a question. Arjun is saying, but how can I gain infamy from neglecting to fight out of compassion and avoiding the sin of destruction of the family? And the answer given by Krishna is, Maharathi like Duryodhan will think that you have left the battlefield from fear of Karna and others, not out of compassion for friends. Warriors do not give up battle out of compassion and do so only out of fear of the enemy. Previously, those who respected you as a warrior and were the enemy, having many good qualities, bahumataha, will now at the time of battle think that you have given up the battle because you are a coward. You will reap intolerable contempt from them. What Srila Prabhupada is writing in a purport for this verse 35. Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great general like Duryodhana, Karan and others contemporaries will think that you have left the battle out of compassion. But they will say, for brothers and grandfather, they will think that you have left out of fear for your life. And thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. So we are going to the verse 36. Avache vadansya bahum vadishanti tavahitaha nindastastva samartyam tato dukkhatram no kim. They will speak many unspeakable words about you. Avache vada, unspeakable words. Criticizing your abilities. What could be more painful than this? Baldev Vidyabhushan says, moreover, your enemies, the son of Dhritarashtra, will criticize your previously recognized bravery and call you many displeasing words like barren sesame seed, useless person. What extreme pain you will receive from hearing such displeasing words. Thus, these 6 verses have shown that avoiding war will bring about infamy and loss of Swarga, which means no enjoyment. These 6 verses. Verse 36. Oh, Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting to non-Aryan. This was the 2nd verse of the 2nd chapter. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statement against Arjuna's so-called compassion. So if you really look the purport, this also is a refutation of compassion as well. Verse 37. Hato va praprasi swargam jitva va bhokshasi mayim tasmadutishta konteya yudhaya kirta nischaya. Being killed or you will attain heaven. Being victorious you will enjoy the earth. Therefore rise, O son of Kunti, and fight with determination. Nishchaya means determination. Arjuna is saying, I am giving up battle because it is uncertain that I will even be victorious. This is indecision. And Krishna is saying, even being defeated and killed, you will attain Swarga. What is loss? Being victorious, you will enjoy the earth. So there is no reason for indecision. In both ways, you are getting benefit. In both cases, you gain. What is wrong? So, 37. Prabhupada writes, even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight for, even being killed, there could be elevated to. So Srila Prabhupada is given the same mood of Vidyabhushan. सुखे दुखे समय कृत्वा लाभा लाभो जया जयो ततो युद्धाय युजस्व नैवं पापम वापस्यसि. This is the third reason defeated. Being equal in happiness and distress, in gain and loss, in victory and defeat, engage in battle, you will not incur any sin. So actually this section defeats the two arguments, the enjoyment and fear of sin. Baldev Vidyabhushan raised the says, he writes, you have explained by verse 33 and the verses following it, Arjuna is saying, that I will attain sin by not fighting, since I will be giving up my duty. But still I should not fight, because sin will arise from killing Brahmins and Gurus in war to gain a kingdom. That's Arjuna's argument. Krishna is saying it is not so. You will not incur sin by killing them. When you are fighting with the desire for liberation, you are not fighting for kingdom. You are fighting for the desire for liberation. This is explained in this verse. Why? Because some word, some, equal, means to remain unchanging in this world in all circumstances. So this is called Samatvam Yoga actually. Baldev further says, not being attached to happiness and its cause, victory, and not having dislike of unhappiness and its cause, not attaining kingdom due to defeat, being of unchanging heart, engage in fighting only because it is your duty. As a fighter, you will not incur sin in killing them because of your disposition of desiring liberation. One who fights with hankering for material result incurs sin, but one who desires true knowledge destroys infinite sins accumulated from the past. Arjuna says, how does one become inclined to fighting, charity or other actions without desire for result? It is difficult. Krishna says, understand that attachment to infinite bliss of Atma is the inspiration, just as attachment to the kingdom is the inspiration for fool who throw himself off a cliff. So you are not fighting for kingdom, but you are fighting for the infinite bliss of Atma. It means for dharma. Srila Prabhupada writes, Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna would fight for the sake of fighting because he desired the battle. Krishna desired the battle. There is no consideration of happiness, distress, profit or loss, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna and transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction which is good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself to the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. So in ordinary course of activities, there is a verse given from the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, and that verse says, at least everybody is indebted to the at least six it's called Deva. Deva means demigods or God. Rishis, it means the saintly people. Bhutat, Niranam and other living entities. Pitram, our forefathers. Nakinkro, Nayam, Rini, Charajan, I am not their servant, I am not indebted to them. Sarvat, Maya, Sarvam, Sharanyam, because I have taken shelter of you. Gato Mukandam Parihirtya Kartam, if somebody take a shelter of Mukanda, then he is free from all the. I think you all know this 5 sunu means every householder every day is killing unknowingly by 5 actions. You know this?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
And therefore they have to perform the 5 yajna. Bhut yajna, Athati yajna, Rishi yajna, Dev yajna. So like that. So one who is fully Krishna conscious, he is free from all this. Now the next section, Buddhi Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga. Verse 39 to 53. Actually these verse 40 and 41 and 42, they are some most important verses. Actually Prabhupada says Buddhi Yoga is equivalent to Bhakti Yoga, and sometimes he says Buddhi Yoga is equivalent to Nishkam Karma Yoga. So now verse 39. Eshate abhita sankhya buddhi yoge tvaimam shano buddhaya yukto yaya parth karam bandhamnya prahasyasi. So Eshate abhite sankhya. Till now I have described you the philosophy of Sankhya, which means different analytical study of the matter from the spirit. Buddhi yoge tvaimam shano. Now you listen from me about Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga yaya Parth, by practicing, by working in Buddhi Yoga, he Parth, Karam Bandham Pras, you will be free from the bondage of the action. So one translation is by Baldev Vidyabhushan and other is by Chakravarti Pad. Chakravarti Pad writes, I have spoken to you the knowledge of the Atma, Atma Gyan, Eshate Abhita Sankhya. Now hear about knowledge of Nishkam Karma Yoga. This is Baldev Vidyabhushan. Buddhi Yoga Tvaimam Shano. By engaging your intelligence in this yoga, Buddhi Yoga, O son of Parth, you will become free from bondage of karma. I have taught you understanding necessary for process of Gyan, Eshate Abhita Sankhya. Sankhya means Gyan. You remember when there is the word Sankhya, it means Gyan Yoga. When there is the word Sannyas, it means Gyan Yoga. So these are interchangeable words. Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Sannyas. On the other hand, Nishkam Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are interchangeable. Now here about understanding necessary for the process of Bhakti. This is Chakravarti Pad. Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga. By engaging your intelligence in this yoga, O son of Pritha, you will become free from bondage. Only Buddhi Yoga has a different reference point and meaning by the two acharyas. Chakravarti Pad side, in this verse Krishna concludes topic of Jnana Yoga, which means Sankhya, which he has just taught. Sankhya means that by which true knowledge of the things, Vastu Tattvam, is perfectly, Samyak, revealed, Khyate. Sankhya, Sankha means perfectly, Samyak means completely, perfectly, and Akhya, Khyate means revealed. So, knowledge by which the Vastu Tattvam is completely realized or revealed. In other words, Sankhya means the perfect process of knowing. The intelligence to be implemented in that process has been explained. Now here about the intelligence necessary to implement Bhakti Yoga, which will now be explained, because Yoga means Bhakti Yoga actually. Other yoga are a stepping stone to reach to the Bhakti Yoga. Endowed with this understanding concerning the subject of the Bhakti Yoga, you will give up samsara, which means birth and death. Baldev Vidyabhushan called this Nishkam Karma Yoga. Having concluded his instruction on the Jnana Yoga, Sankhya, Lord now begins to speak about Nishkam Karma Yoga, the process for attaining Jnana Yoga. It means if we perform Nishkam Karma Yoga, then we are eligible to elevate to the Jnana Yoga. Sankhya means Upanishad. This is another meaning of Sankhya, Upanishad. That by
Hare
which,
Krishna Prabhu.
sorry, yes,
Hare Krishna Prabhu, one doubt. Prabhu, you just mentioned that Nishkam Karm Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, they are equivalent or they can be equated as per Prabhupada. And Sankhya Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Sannyas are equivalent. But here we are talking about Nishkam Karm Yoga, the process of attaining Jnana Yoga. So, could you help me to understand more?
what I'm saying, I don't understand. What I'm saying, Prabhupada is interchangeably using these words. There is very subtle difference between Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Anybody can answer me what is the difference between Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga?
Prabhuji, can I tell?
Yes, tell me.
Nishkam means he is not expecting. Person who is performing that yoga, he is not expecting anything. Just for the performing sake, he is performing this duty. And bhakti is he is doing every activity, keeping the center of as Krishna, and he is performing every activity.
Okay. Anybody has to say something more? Nishkam Karma Yoga, the performer is attached to the work but not to the result. When the word yoga is there, it means in relation to Supreme Lord. So like, I want to only to do pujari work. I don't want to go out for book distribution. But I'm not getting any remuneration for that. If somebody is like staunch like that, I'm not saying any devotion generally, but if somebody is attached to the specific work, but is not attached to the result and he offers the result to the Supreme Lord, it's called Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga. So the Karma Yoga is of two types, Sakama Karma Yoga and Niskama Karma Yoga. Sakama Karma Yoga means I do something, I get the result, I share some profit of my work with Supreme Lord because it's called Yoga, Sakama Karma Yoga. I give some charity and I also enjoy something. This is most of the people who are charitable, they are Sakama Karmi. Nishkam Karmis are those who give all the profit in the service they offer to the Lord, but they only perform the duty which they like. Now the Bhakti Yoga, Prabhupada used to say, is the army discipline. The person is neither attached to the work nor to the result. If you ask the devotee to cook, he said, yes, okay. If you ask him to drive, okay. Oh, you have to do puja, yes. Go for book distribution, yes. So he is neither attached to the work nor attached to the result. That is Bhakti Yoga. So this is a subtle difference. So Srila Prabhupada here takes the liberty of exchanging using these words. Buddhi Yoga, Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So Sankhya means Upanishad, that by which truth is completely explained. Samyak Khyati. So Sankhya means Samyak Khyati, that by which true nature of the Atma is presented. The understanding necessary for performance of Sankhya alone has been spoken to you, starting with Natva Eva Amjatu Nasam and ending with Tasmat Sarvani Bhutani. So 12 to 18. If that understanding does not arise because of impurities in your heart, hear about understanding necessary to execute Karma Yoga, which will now be spoken. The Nishkama Karma Yoga is then praised in the last line by stating the result of practicing it. You performing these actions engage in this understanding will be freed from bondage of created by actions. Executing these actions with great energy, with the desire for the bliss of the Atma, and by the order of the Lord, you will cross over samsara by being fixed in Atma Gyan, which will appear within you. Because Nishkam Karma Yoga include Gyan Yoga in itself, which gain its power to liberate by being directed to Atma and the Lord. In the Gita, it is explained that Sakama Karma leads to gaining animals, sons and kingdom, whereas Nishkam Karma brings about Gyan. So result of Sakam Karma is to gain animals. Today's word is like having many motor cars. Sons means having children, and kingdom means having opulence. Srila Prabhupada writes, Arjun's proposal for not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the son of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principle were for sense gratification. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal, individual, etc. Sankhya. This Sankhya has nothing to do with Sankhya philosophy of atheist Kapil. Anybody knows about him? I don't know. Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as the spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. Say, Prabhupada writes, Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga. Or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of Lord. See, it exchange, all three are equivalent in Prabhupada's translation and commentary. This Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in 10th chapter, verse number 10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam, as being direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everybody's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional service or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to the stage of Buddhi Yoga by special grace of the Lord. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is devotional service of the Lord. And the word Sankhya mentioned here has nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga and enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein as any connection with the atheist Sankhya. Nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time. Nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
क्लास चल रहा है यार, उसको बोलो। मेरे ख्याल में कोई क्लास है, क्योंकि मेरी क्लास चल रही है अभी, इनका पहले से ही मैं लेट शुरू किया है, अभी 8 में से 10 मिनट कम है अभी, है ना?
वेटिंग करें।
वो श्लोक पढ़ ले, कमेंट्री पढ़ ले, मैं 15-20 मिनट में आता हूँ।
8-10 तक।
हाँ?
8-10 तक।
हाँ, तब तक मैं कोशिश करूँ। Yes, what is your question? Yes? I have to give a Bhagavatam class in this temple. Yes, somebody was asking question? Okay. So Srila Prabhupada writes, real Sankhya philosophy is described by Lord Kapila in Srimad Bhagavatam. But even that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topic. Here Sankhya means analytical description of body and soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapil's Sankhya as described in Bhagavatam are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Verse 40 is most important. Neha vikaram naso asti prathivayo na vidyate swalpamasya dharmasya trayate mato bhayat. Neha vikaram naso. In this process of Buddhi Yoga, there is no loss by stopping without completion. If you not finish, there is no loss. And no sin incurred by imperfection in performance. Prathivayo na vidyate means if you don't perform, there is no reaction or sin. One is protected from birth and death. Even by practice of little of this process means bhakti. So this verse is typical bhakti verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, there are two types of yoga explained in this section of the chapter. Activities of bhakti including hearing, chanting and other such activities, and prescribed duties offered to the Lord without personal duties, Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, which is expressed later starting with the verse Karman Eva Adhikaras. From Karman Eva Adhikaras, the Nishkam Karma Yoga starts. This is Chakravarti Pad's idea. Before that, however, Bhakti Yoga is discussed. It means till verse 46. It is all pure Bhakti Yoga. Because Bhakti alone and no other process is beyond three modes. A person transcends modes only by performing Bhakti Yoga. Thus statement Nehabi Karam Naso or Nistriguno Bhav Arjan in a verse number 45 indicate that this section is about Bhakti. The nirguna nature of bhakti is also well supported by a statement in 11th canto of Bhagavatam. Nirguna means beyond three modes of material nature. Gyan and karma cannot be said to be nistarguniya because of presence of sattva in gyan and rajas in karma. So gyan is in sattoguna and karma is in rajoguna. And the bhakti found in karma yoga in the form of offering one's prescribed duties, actions to the Lord is present. There just makes karma lose its uselessness and bear material fruit. This process of karma yoga does not have the designation of bhakti proper because predominance of bhakti is absent. If one consider karma offered to the Lord to be bhakti, then what would be the designation for karma referred to? If one says that it refers to prescribed karma not offered to the Lord, that cannot be. For Narad says, Naishkarmya papi achutta bhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kuta punah sashvat adbhadram ishvare na cha arpitam karma yadapya karanam. Even the sages of the Gyan, without the bondage of the karma, is not glorious if it is devoid of bhakti to the Supreme Lord. What is the use of having destroyed ignorance? What then to speak of sakam karma, which causes suffering, both during practice and at the stage of perfection, and nishkama karma, when not offered to the Lord? So this is the verse in Bhagavatam 1.5.12. This statement indicates that karma devoid of Lord is completely useless. Therefore, in this verse and the verses till verse 45, bhakti characterized only by hearing, chanting and other devotional acts, practiced only by to attain the sweetness of the Lord's lotus feet is being described. Nishkam Karma Yoga will also be described. Both of these are indicated by the word Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga here means both. Buddhi Yoga includes Bhakti Yoga and Nishkam Karma Yoga. That is the Chakravarti Path's commentary. In the phrase Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yen Mam Upyanti Te, the word Buddhi Yoga indicates Bhakti Yoga only. That is verse 10:10. In phrase Dure Nahe Avaram Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjay, this will come in verse 49, which is the seed for the chapter 3. The word Buddhi Yoga indicates Nishkam Karma Yoga. So in verse 49, the Buddhi Yoga means Nishkam Karma Yoga.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, what?
Dhanataram. So, Prabhuji, why Buddhi Yoga is used interchangeably? Like, why can't we write for Nishkam Karma only? Instead, we are saying it Buddhi Yoga.
Buddhi Yoga, Chakravarti Pad writes, Buddhi Yoga includes both Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So this word Buddhi Yoga is used in Bhagavad Gita for both Nishkam Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Where it is used for Bhakti Yoga, 10:10. Where it is used for Karma Yoga, 2:49.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So I think I'm going into detail. Thus, this present verse is glorification of process of bhakti with hearing and chanting, which is beyond the modes of nature. In Bhakti Yoga, ear, there is no destruction, nasa, and there is also no sin incurred, prativaya, if the practice has just begun, abhi karma, and then is stopped. If Karma Yoga, however, is begun and then stopped, there is both destruction of the fruit of Karma Yoga and sinful reaction as well for the performer. So in Karma Yoga, if you stop the work, then you will not get the full result. Everything is finished and you will also incur sin. But then by non-performance of bhakti, which he is supposed to do, the aspiring practitioner also would not get any result. Answer. Whatever little bhakti was there by the initial practice, swalapamasi dharmasya, even that small amount will certainly deliver him from bondage of sansar, mahato bhayat. This is understood from such verses as following. Yannama sakrachran vasharvan pukasho api vimuchyate sansara. Merely by hearing the holy name of the Supreme Lord only once, even Chandal, men of the lowest class, are freed from all material contamination. Bhagavad 6:1644. And also seen in the example of Ajamil also. Swalpamasya dharmasya example is Ajamil. One can see that the following statements by the Lord has the same meaning. Nahi, this is the another verse, 11:29-20. My dear Uddhav, because I have personally established it, this process of devotional service unto me is transcendental and free from any material motivation. Certainly a devotee never suffers even the slightest loss by adopting this process. In Bhagavatam, verses quoted above, the Krishna also shows cause of indestructibility of bhakti. As it is beyond the guna, it can never be destroyed. The same reasoning should be applied to the present Gita verse. One cannot say, however, that Nishkam Karma Yoga, even by being offered to the Lord, is beyond modes of nature. For it is said, Mad arpanam nishphalam va sattvam nij karma tat. 11:25-23. Work performed as an offering to me without consideration of the fruit is considered to be the mode of goodness, Nishkam Karma Yoga. This verse indicates that Nishkam Karma Yoga, even by the proper power of being offered to the Lord, is in the material mode of sattva and therefore subject to destruction. So Baldev Vidabhushan, you should read, I think, on your own because we have less time. Srila Prabhupada writes, activity in Krishna consciousness, acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such work in a bhakti yoga actually find no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plan has to be completed, otherwise the whole attempt becomes failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has permanent defect, even though not finished. So, the performance of such work is therefore not at all, even not at loss, even if this work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bear permanent result. In the next life, he begins from the 2%. Material activities and their results end with body, but work in Krishna consciousness carry person again to Krishna consciousness even after the loss of body. Prabhupada writes, at least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born. This is the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Suchiram Shrimatam Gehe Yog Bhrishto Abhijayate Athva Yoginam Kule Bhavati Dhimatan. So he will get a human life either in a rich aristocrat family or in a acharya family. Because yoga, that yoga means bhakti yoga. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. Verse 41, most important verse. This is the verse, the purport of this verse by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when realized by Srila Prabhupada, that become the impetus for establishing ISKCON. व्यवसाय आत्मिका बुद्धि एके कुरुनंदन बहुशाखाय अनंतास्य बुद्ध्यो अवसायिनाम. So vyavasaya atmika buddhi means taking the order of the spiritual master's life and soul. So Srila Prabhupada took this order of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada to preach in Western world as his life and soul. After reading this purport by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Prabhupada was committed to establish ISKCON. If the intelligence is many branch, then he will not be successful. Resolute intelligence, Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi, is only one in this process in Bhakti Yoga, or son of Kuru. The intelligence of those who are irresolute has many branches of action and ultimate desires. Srila Prabhupada, Vishwanath Chakravarti writes particularly, it is, moreover, on all type of intelligence, that intelligence concerning Bhakti Yoga is the best. Resolute intelligence fixed in Bhakti Yoga is only one. The meaning of this is stated as follows. My sadhan is to serve the lotus feet of Lord, to remember and glorify Him as instructed by my Guru. That is my only goal, sadhya. It is my life-sustaining medicine, for I cannot give up the sadhan and sadhya. Sadhan means serving the Supreme Lord under the instruction of Guru, and sadhya means my goal. This is my most desirable object, my duty, and nothing else is my duty. Nothing else is desired even in dream. There may be happiness or sorrow. Sansar may be destroyed or may not be destroyed. There is no loss for me. Let there only be resolute, intelligent, fixed, and pure bhakti. My devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Bhagavatam. The intelligence of others, however, is not eka. So this is okay. The intelligence then concentrate on giving up jnana, as Lord says. This is at 11th. Okay. That you can read if you like. Srila Prabhupada writes, what is Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi? A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to highest perfection of life is called Vivasayatmika Buddhi. So this is the definition of Vivasayatmika Buddhi. And then there is a verse quoted from Chaitanya Charitamrita about the faith. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kahe Sudhir Nishchay Krishna Bhakti Kaila Sarva Karma Kirta Hai. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. So Shraddha is a first stage. Vishwas is higher than Shraddha. And Dhrudha Nishchay is the topmost level. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he needs not act in relationship to the material world with obligation to family, tradition, humanity or nationality, because they are all Bahusakha. So Krishna consciousness activities are on the absolute plane. Fruitive activities are the engagement of one's reaction from the past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he needs no longer endeavor for good result in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of material concept of life. That it means this state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The basis of Vivasayatmika intelligence is knowledge. The resolute purpose of person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. And which knowledge? Vasudev Sarvamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. From 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Rare good soul who knows Krishna is the object of my knowledge is to know Krishna. Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches. So by acting Krishna consciousness, one can render highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. That's good. If Krishna is satisfied by one's action, then everyone will be satisfied. Now such knowledge can be received only by pleasing the bona fide spiritual master. So there are 3-4 sections in this purport. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practice under the able guidance of a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As such, to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna. And one should accept the instruction of bona